In 2024, a truck crashed into Kanawha Animal Rescue, where I work. 146 of our dogs needed homes fast. We asked for help on Facebook. Our story spread through WhatsApp messages and Instagram reposts. Immediately, people stepped up.
I'm here to foster.
And just 6 hours later, every dog was fostered. I'll never forget how our community showed up for us.
Learn how over 3.5 billion people connect to what matters with Meta at meta.com/community.
This week on Viewpoints.
Something like 80 to 90% of Black doctors in America are HBCU graduates.
The institutions behind generations of Black excellence. Then,
it's actually a conflict manager, that parenting plan. It's a way of saying, hey, if you can't agree, then this is what you're going to do.
Raising kids doesn't always happen under one roof. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
In 2024, a truck crashed into Kanawha Animal Rescue, where I work. 146 of our dogs needed homes fast. We asked for help on Facebook. Our story spread through WhatsApp messages and Instagram reposts. Immediately, people stepped up.
I'm here to foster.
And just 6 hours later, every dog was fostered. I'll never forget how our community showed up for us.
Learn how over 3.5 billion people connect to what matters with Meta at meta.com/community.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
For nearly 2 centuries, historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, have educated, supported, and shaped generations of students. Long before many predominantly white institutions opened their doors to Black Americans, these colleges offered a path to opportunity. And while they were founded in response to exclusion, their impact has extended far beyond that original mission.
Historically Black college and university, which is typically called an HBCU, is an institution that was created with the express purpose of educating Black people. And most of them were created right after the Civil War, when there was this enormous group of African Americans who had been kept away from any kind of formal education. There were a few in the North that were created prior to the Civil War, but what differentiates them is that they were created specifically to educate Black people. They're federally defined. So if you were created after 1964, and you happen to have a lot of Black people who attended the institution, you're not a historically Black college, you're a predominantly Black institution. And so there are differences.
That's Marybeth Gasman, professor for the Graduate School of Education at Rutgers University. Today, 107 colleges are recognized by the U.S. Department of Education as HBCUs. While these institutions were established to educate Black Americans, they welcome students of all races and ethnicities. Current federal data shows that about 13% of HBCU students are white, 3% are Hispanic or Latino, and 1% are Asian.
There are a number of reasons why HBCUs are really important. One is that they approach Black students with the idea that they belong, that they're intelligent, that they are talented, and that they have value. And, given what is happening just today in our country, it is incredibly important that Black people and Black students understand that they're valued, that they're seen. So that's one thing.
For HBCU alumnus Jelani M Favors, that inclusive atmosphere is a big part of what drew him to an HBCU in the first place. Favors is now the vice president of the Frederick D. Patterson Research Institute, which studies the educational status of African Americans in the U.S. He says the culture and community at HBCUs, especially when compared to predominantly white institutions, creates a different kind of academic and social foundation.
There's a saying that has emerged over the last few years, particularly when it comes to translating the HBCU experience, where people talk about going where you're celebrated and not tolerated. And so when you come to this nurturing environment, these historically Black colleges and universities that have produced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mary McLeod Bethune and Ella Baker and John Lewis and Diane Nash. I mean, you look at this litany of success, but you're also stepping into a legacy in terms of young people who were taught and trained to transform the world around them. We wouldn't have a civil rights movement had it not been for historically Black colleges and universities. And so that's the legacy that you step into, and you feel that, you're embraced by that.
And there's a measurable impact on the success of this model. For decades, these colleges have been pipelines into STEM fields. Many of the country's top Black doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and professors trace their roots back to these campuses.
Something like 80 to 90% of Black doctors in America are HBCU graduates, and lawyers, engineers, all of these fields. Still, we see HBCUs contributing a lion's share of those folks who go into those industries.
HBCUs also produce 80% of Black judges, 50% of Black lawyers, and 40% of Black engineers. Those numbers are even more striking when you consider that only about 1 in 10 Black college students attends an HBCU. Despite the positive impact, these institutions continue to face misinformation and persistent narratives that question their value.
Well, you'll hear people say that they're not as good as other institutions without any data. You'll hear people say that Black students are not as smart or as talented who come, in general, but who come from HBCUs. And people have no data when they say that. I often will ask people, well, where's your data? Could you show me that? Right? Tell me where you're getting this information. You will hear people talk about them as relics of the past that we don't need anymore. Some people say that they're racist because they happen to be called historically Black colleges. They're the one set of institutions in the country that has never been racist. They have always accepted everyone.
According to a 2023 analysis from the U.S. Department of Education, 16 states have underfunded their HBCUs, with the total deficit exceeding $12 billion. While a federal funding boost was announced in 2023, much of that investment was offset by cuts to other minority-serving institutions. And even with increased attention, many of these colleges still face significant shortfalls.
Some of the challenges they're currently facing are the challenges they faced since their inception. We see these massive resource gaps that exist, the lack of funding. America often believed that we would create educational space, not just educational spaces, but cultural spaces, political spaces that were separate and equal, and knowing that, of course, they never were. And so HBCUs oftentimes are reflections of that in terms of the lack of funding that they've received, both from the federal government, the state government, private philanthropy. We've seen incredible resources being poured into what we refer to as predominantly white institutions in a discriminatory fashion. And HBCUs are still trying to play the catch-up game, still trying to close that resource gap.
While Favors acknowledges that there's been progress, he says there's still a long way to go. So what does this support look like? Gasman says it can mean sustained public and private investment. It can mean policymakers prioritizing equitable funding. And it can mean challenging misinformation when these institutions are mischaracterized.
If you have HBCUs in your state, if you have public HBCUs, you can write to your state senator or state representative and make sure that they advocate for them. Another thing you can do is you can make donations to scholarship funds that support HBCU students. I think that's really important. I think when people say disparaging things about HBCUs, all you got to do is Google some evidence or look in, ChatGPT or wherever you want to look, and you can have something in your back pocket ready to defend HBCUs.
At a time when higher education funding is under scrutiny, supporters say visibility matters just as much as dollars. Public backing, whether through advocacy or simple recognition, can help ensure that these institutions can continue their work for years to come. To learn more about Marybeth Gasman, Jelani M. Favors, and all our featured guests, visit viewpointsradio.org. For more behind the scenes and to support our show, follow us at Viewpoints Radio on Instagram, Facebook, and X. This segment was written and produced by Grace Galante and Amira Zaveri. Studio production by Jay Silvers. I'm Gary Price.
Coming up, what it takes to raise happy and healthy children together, even when parents live apart, when Viewpoints returns.
Instagram teen accounts, automatic protections for teens. Instagram teen accounts have built-in content settings, now inspired by 13+ movie ratings, and limits for who can contact teens. Plus, teens under 16 can't change these default safety settings without parental approval, so parents can help teens connect safely. Instagram teen accounts, automatic protections for who can contact teens and the content they can see. Learn more at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Now, finding a doctor is a little less challenging. United Health Group is investing in tools that make it easier for patients to navigate healthcare and pay less. These transparency tools help patients find providers, and this is the big thing: compare costs up front. The big picture? More transparent pricing benefits everyone. And these tools from United Health Group can help patients save hundreds of dollars annually. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Taco Bell is rolling out the new Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupas. And here's the thing, you literally can't just get one. They come in twos. And thank goodness they do, because these toasted cheddar street chalupas filled with slow-roasted chicken, crispy bacon, and avocado ranch are stacked with bold flavor that keeps you going back for more. Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupas, only at Taco Bell. Get yours today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only while supplies last.
Many American couples will separate or divorce while their kids are still young, and this can make for an emotionally charged and often chaotic situation for everyone involved. And there are a lot of concerns to address, such as deciding how the child will be cared for and where, what school will they attend, who will make healthcare decisions, and more. To help parents address these concerns in the best possible way for their children, Karen Bunnell wrote The Co-Parent's Handbook, Raising Well-Adjusted, Resilient, and Resourceful Kids in a Two-Family Home, from Little Ones to Young Adults. Bunnell is a co-parent coach, and along with contributions by child specialist Kristen Little, she helps parents navigate the sometimes troubled waters of raising a child in two homes. Bunnell says that when parents split and the courts get involved, it's best if mom and dad have a plan to present that's acceptable for both of them.
The courts want to empower parents to be great parents, to be good parents, to work well together. And if they can start out on that foot as they dismantle their spousal or partnership relationship, all the better. The court doesn't want to interfere. What they do want is for kids to be well cared for and well supported. And they want to minimize conflict. Part of the reason why most states have adopted the need for a parenting plan, it's actually a conflict manager, that parenting plan. It's a way of saying, hey, if you can't agree, then this is what you're going to do. This is when the child's going to transfer from one home to the next. This is how pickups and drop-offs are going to happen. And so that's really the purpose. And the court is all about healthy kids hoping to have two-home families run smoothly for that outcome.
She says that all of the disappointment, anger, and betrayal has to be set on the sideline when parents are around their children to keep the kids from having to bear the burden of their parents' discontent. Bunnell says that parents have a responsibility to not only be civil when they're with their children, but also make sure that their involvement in their lives creates an environment of stability and love.
The biggest thing is, will I be loved? Will I be cared for? And am I going to lose a parent? If I know that I'll be loved and cared for and I'm not going to lose a parent, and my parents are going to be okay, that's another way that you can lose a parent, right? Somehow they're not okay. They're not financially stable enough. They're not emotionally stable enough. So there are lots of ways we can lose a parent. As we work with co-parents, we're ever cognizant of how this separation and divorce unfolds needs to take into consideration the okayness of the parents, the accessibility, and the engagement, so that kids have the experience of, okay, I'm really scared, this is uncertain, and as time goes on, things restabilize, I'm secure again, I have my parents, life moves on.
There are several potentially touchy situations when a child is cared for in two different homes. One is where the child will spend holidays, birthdays, and vacations. Bunnell says that splitting the child's time equally between homes can be detrimental to the child, even though it seems to the parents to be the right thing to do.
I really work with co-parents not to count hours and days and overnights and a Saturday visit here and a Christmas there. Early on in separation and divorce, parents often do best if they can share some of the holidays. So let's just use Christmas as an example. You know, you have them for Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. Maybe I even come to your house where the children are in residence, and I come for that hour and a half of Santa gifts. And then the kids and I leave, and they have Christmas dinner with me and my family. And that can work out beautifully for the first year or two, the first holiday season or two after the separation and divorce. In the long run, that attempt to balance everything actually becomes a disadvantage for children. And if we look at it through their lives, as time moves on and maybe mom and dad recouple and maybe we have step-siblings or half-siblings, that kind of residential arrangement never allows children to be either fish or fowl. They're always caught in between. Every holiday is split. They never just rest in and go, oh, wow, I have Christmas with Dad this year. And when that happens, it looks like this.
She says that for the first few years, it's natural for parents to want to spend the holidays and birthdays with their kids. But Bunnell says that eventually parents have to consider the feelings of the children who are moved from one home to the other over a short period of time.
We help parents anticipate what the developmental arc of, okay, at first it's really scary, I can't imagine a Christmas without my children, and then evolving to a place of, I want everyone to be comfortable, including my children, not being pulled in and out every holiday, in some ways to meet the needs of parents more than parents feeling secure that children are loved and cared for wherever they are.
Another situation co-parents can find themselves in is when one or both parents enter into new adult relationships. Bunnell says that it's best if parents ease into involving their children with a new romantic partner by introducing them as a friend for the first 3 months or so.
Later, at 4 and 5 months, we might do a backyard barbecue, or we might have other kinds of limited engagements. But it's not until you're more certain that this person is hanging out on Saturdays and Sundays at the house or creating any sense of family. What we want to avoid for children who've been through a separation and a divorce is a repetitive experience of attaching or beginning to attach to someone and having them leave, often precipitously because they don't have insider information about why we might have broke up. So I just ask parents, be thoughtful about that and how they introduce their children to a new romantic partner and when.
She also suggests that parents decide in advance who is going to break the news of a new romantic partner. Do you want to find out from each other first?
Or do you want your children to return from residential time and going, hey, mom has a new boyfriend, which might be fine. The other parent might stand there and go, I heard. That's really wonderful. I knew you were going to meet him. That might be more ideal. So do you want to know from each other ahead of time, or do you want to find out from the kids? And that's a choice point.
Bunnell says that parents who have the best interests of the child at heart and who put their own emotions in check after a split rarely need to go back to court to resolve small issues. However, there are times when it's important to call in a third party to help get the childcare routine back on track.
My first recommendation when parents can tolerate this is to start with a co-parent coach or a mediator. Go to a neutral third party who can really help. See if you can break that apart effectively on your own without involving the legal system. If it's a big enough issue that you have to bypass that because it's urgent, it's health related, there's safety involved, then clearly go immediately to your attorney and deal with that in a very, very appropriate way. But for what I would call the lower level issues, which may not feel lower level, but they're not health and safety issues. They're extremely bothersome, but the kids are safe. I would start with a lower level intervention, which again, a mediator, or you might bring two collaborative attorneys into the room who would give you some idea, what would the courts say on this issue? How would the courts address this issue? So that again, the co-parents really hold on to all of their power to resolve things on their own to the extent that they can.
Divorce is tough for everyone. Parents, kids, and extended families. But Bonnell says that children who split their time between two homes can often benefit from the experience.
Kids in two-home families often exceed their peers by about age 10 or 12. They're exceeding their peers in one-home families, often in skills like organization, self-management, often in terms of being able to manage age-appropriate household responsibilities. Part of that is when you have a parent in one home with children, you've got a team of three there, and then as they move over to their other parent's house, there's a team of three there, and they have to operate as a team. When you have two adults in a family, they can kind of do things for kids that kids are actually capable of doing. So when you only have one, it's a little bit more divide and conquer what needs to happen to keep the household running. So children in one-home families learn those skills.
You can find out more about this topic and our guest, Karen Bonnell, by heading to viewpointsradio.org. This segment originally aired in September 2015 and was written and produced by Pat Reuter. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jay Silvers. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
Instagram teen accounts, automatic protections for teens. Instagram teen accounts have built-in content settings, now inspired by 13+ movie ratings, and limits for who can contact teens. Plus, teens under 16 can't change these default safety settings without parental approval, so parents can help teens connect safely. Instagram teen accounts, automatic protections for who can contact teens and the content they can see. Learn more at instagram.com/teenaccounts.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Viewpoints Explained. I'm Ebony McMorris. January gets all the attention every year for its promise of a clean slate. New year, new goals, new habits. But some experts say that January isn't when real change sticks. For many, the momentum comes later, around March. Survey shows that about 80 to 90% of people drop their New Year's resolutions by mid-February. One reason? Pressure. January comes filled with expectations, social comparison, and the feeling that change has to be immediate. Fast forward a few months, and by late winter, that intensity is gone, and goals tend to come back in a more realistic and sustainable way. There's also a physical component. As daylight increases, there's more sunlight, boosting people's energy levels. The longer days also signal that spring and warmer weather are within reach. This combination can make it easier to break out of winter hibernation mode and get going on new habits. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania found that these secondary fresh starts often lead to better outcomes because they lower the stakes. Many adults feel like they're resetting with more specific, tailored goals instead of trying to start from scratch. So while January gets all the headlines, March may be the month that really makes the difference. That's Viewpoints Explained for this week. More in a moment.
Welcome to Culture Crash, where we examine what's new and old in entertainment. In the summer and fall of 2024, Brat was everywhere. Charli XCX's 6th studio album grabbed the zeitgeist with its lime green color palette, its rave-influenced dance sound, and Charli's no-cares attitude. It spawned a TikTok dance, the second album full of remixes, and months of hand-wringing all across the news landscape as Brat became a cultural movement. This year, Charli is officially moving on from the most explosive era of her career. First came The Moment, a theatrically released mockumentary about the pressures of growing her brand while still trying to be true to herself as an artist. The Moment is a funny satire full of pop music in-jokes, and it seems to be the final installment in the world of Brat. That's because 2 weeks after The Moment hit theaters, Charli XCX released her next album, titled Wuthering Heights. It's a soundtrack for the new film adaptation of the novel Wuthering Heights. Charli's soundtrack mixes her specific brand of synth pop with orchestral instrumentation and the dark gothic romance of Emily Bronte's famous novel. There's shimmery hyperpop on the song Dying for You, darkly obsessive lyrics and desperate intensity on songs like Seeing Things in Altars, as well as a 9 Inch Nails-like industrial horror feeling on the album's opener, House, featuring John Cale. With Wuthering Heights, Charli XCX has made an album that breaks away from the specific sounds and themes of Brat, but is still of a piece with Charli's discography. In adopting new perspectives and infusing her songs with the literary longing of Emily Bronte's characters, Charli XCX has managed to strike gold once again. I'm Evan Rook.
Instagram teen accounts default teens into automatic protections for who can contact them and the content they can see. Explore teen accounts and all of our ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teenaccounts.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
To tip off this NBA season on FanDuel, you can choose your own rewards, which means you can play your game any way you want.
I get to choose my rewards?
Yep.
Great! Now, excuse me while I lock in.
All customers choose your own reward right now in the FanDuel app. 21 plus and present in select states. 18 plus in Kentucky. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirement, and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.